I was informed about the only other game that I was talking about previously by one of my good buddies out there. The game with a 1930s style animation. The game is called CUPHEAD, and okay, I have a little bit of a rant for this game. Surprise, surprise. Now, I think it's clever that the developers have chosen to keep how many of the levels and bosses are going to look like under wraps, which is what we've seen. What we've seen so far, though, is interesting. It's always a good idea to keep some interest in your game, but I've noticed that with indie studios, I love y'all. I love indie studios. I love y'all. I love them, but I know it can be difficult at times. You can't necessarily be like the very well-known Cyan Worlds, which, when they went indie with Abduction, still they started a Kickstarter game. They got the money. They worked on the game, and they were mostly hush-hush about it. I mean, you got several design ideas out there on their Kickstarter page. Sure. Yeah, but that was all for the Kickstarter. And then they released the game in all its glory, and then everyone was like, oh my god, that's great, oh my god. Now, putting out these little bits and pieces out there is great and all, but when we see this at E3, some of us expect for that game to be released later that exact same year. And thanks to a certain game that goes by the name of No Man's Pointless Excuse of a Bullshit Game, it has set a very bad precedence. Look up that word. Presidence. And precedence in the gaming world can be a very terrible thing if it's a bad thing. But I know you, Internet. I know you. I know some of you out there have that thought. Well, they showed Cuphead at E3 back in 2015. I think 2014 too, I think. And they showed it off again in 2016. And it looks mostly the same, except for maybe a little tune-up in the soundtrack department. And maybe a few more bosses too. But that's it? That's it? And my response to this is, well, maybe you have a point there, I guess. I don't know. The gameplay doesn't look nearly as well confined as I would think it should be. The maps in the game look pretty bland, but it's a game that describes itself as a run and gun type shooter, and I wouldn't put it past them if they tried to make the game a bit more Mario-esque at some point. That would be my recommendation, because a side-scrolling run and gun type shooter is great and all, but the replay value in those types of games are limited. I mean, the worst case scenario, we get a game like The Blue Flamingo, a classic top-down scroller shooter thingy, where you control a flying thing, and there's other things that come at you from the topmost part of the screen, and they try to shoot you down. Since it's been done a billion times before. This has been done so many times before, it's not even funny. Except here, the Blue Flamingo's replay value sucks colossal freaking ass. Because you can't use your money to repair your plane if it gets damaged. You only use your money for upgrades. Who the fuck does that? Who the fucking... No, I don't want upgrades for my plane. I want repairs first. And then, if I rake up enough money, then I can buy the upgrades. You dumb fucks. That's how it's supposed to be done. That's how you're supposed to do it. So yeah, I understand the concerns. Style over substance is not always a great thing. And we've seen this kind of thing time and time again. And it largely has to do with manpower. You have limited groups of people working on a game, and yes, you want to keep that Max Fleischer 1930s cartoon style, looking about as crisp and as uniform as humanly possible, but we all know that in order to pull that off, something has to be sacrificed. Unless you just do what Cyan Worlds did, I guess. They took a long time to do Abduction. But they did it right. 10 years in proverbial pre-production after they finished off Myst 5. Now, that's 10 whole years. In that span of time, they managed to sustain themselves with, yes, remaking the exact same goddamn game over and over and over and over and over again. But I don't know if fans were still falling over themselves after the third remake of Myst. Because there was also the iOS market, and they put out some kind of game called Bug Chucker. And good for them for doing that, try to sustain themselves as far as in the iOS market. Let's not forget also Myst for your iPad. And also Riven for your iPad. I love these games. I love these games to death. I talk about them all the time. But of course, we're gonna milk these for everything it's fucking got. Our first game got inducted into the Smithsonian. For the love of God, we gotta milk this. We gotta milk this. We gotta milk this. Everybody, we gotta milk this. Well, now, thank God. Thank God. They don't have to keep milking that cow anymore. Thank God. Because it was starting to get really lame there for a second. Oh, okay. Now, it doesn't have to be over the course of 10 whole years, but a significant amount of pre-production might still have to be required for all indie studios if they truly wanted to create something that is truly unique and unforgettable. And it's not like Studio MDHR. It hasn't already done that, per se. The studio that's creating Cuphead. Yeah, this game has been in production for almost 6 whole years, and pre-production's gone on for quite some time before that. And I'd be surprised to see half a game out of this given the time it's been in production. But if it's a 2-3 hour long game, I feel a little disappointed about that. So you either got to up the boss count, which, yeah, that does seem to be the idea from the very get-go. Or design some more diverse levels in the run and gun sections. Also, in games like Guacamelee, you have multiple different skill sets to defeating enemies and bosses. Enemies. And you learn more over time. In Cuphead, you shoot. You shoot a lot. You shoot things. You shoot that thing. You shoot that thing over there. Hence the phrase, run and gun. But that's not much of a skill set with run and guns. Sure, you can set difficulty, resulting in an increase in health for all your enemies and bosses, and therefore more firepower and pure luck would be needed in that case. And I'm not saying that a game requiring such a simple skill set wouldn't be fun to play. I'm sure it will. Of course it will. I'm sure, absolutely it will. I'm just wondering for how long, though. And I wonder how long before the cosmetic appeal of the Max Fleischer 1930s cartoon aesthetic wears away, where I see a game with a whole lot of style, but not that much substance. And that can be a very tricky thing to pull off, especially if you invest a whole lot of your time with only the visual aesthetic. Now granted though, the Max Fleischer 1930s cartoon aesthetic is nothing short of amazing as far as this game is concerned. But still, we are all aware, style over substance can sometimes blow the fuck up in developers' faces like a grenade. I'm looking at you, No Man's Sky! And I do genuinely hope that Studio MDHR is able to avoid the No Man's Sky pitfall, and seeing as how Cuphead isn't procedurally generated, I think we can all take that as a pretty good sign. At least Cuphead has a general focus that feels more important to the game. From what I've seen so far, I'm only slightly worried. I'm slightly worried, just a little bit. I'm cautiously optimistic. That's the word I'm thinking of here. Yeah. Which is the healthiest state to be in, I would think. Yes. Hi, hello there, it's RBZ here, doing what sounds like a radio promo for Viagra. I'm not doing Viagra, it just sounds like it, really. I just want to let you guys know that if you want to hear more of my sweet, angelic voice, you can do it over on Patreon, for freezies. Yes, freezies, as in free. This is where the casual bits make up the casual hour. But, did you know that you can also hear it first before you see the video, if you want. $1 a month gets you access to the RSS Patreon feed a week in advance before you see it there, which isn't all that bad of a deal, but it is understandable if you'd rather bask in the visual goodness of these videos. Either way, it works for me. $5 gets your name in the video credits and a shout out on Casual Hour. Also, your name's gonna be in the video credits and walkthrough review too. And $20. Ooh, somebody's a big spender here. So, $20 gets you all sorts of crazy goodies and it's taking me a freaking long ass time to upload to a freaking cloud server. Might switch to BitTorrent Sync or LibreVault in the future for the some 15 whole gigs of material I'm currently uploading to a cloud server. 15 gigs, and it ain't gonna stop growing until I'm dead! But if you're a $20 Patreon subscriber, and after I eventually finish uploading all this, it is all yours for the taking. Oh, take it all. Take it. That is all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.